my vegan kitchen. It's almost Valentine's Day. Oh my. So I've got something special today that is near and dear to my heart. I would rather have my husband bring me home a dozen bagels than a dozen roses. I'm born and raised in New York City. I grew up on bagels and I love them. So bring me those bagels for Valentine's Day, honey. So these are really simple. The only thing is, it takes a little bit of time to do it right. You want them to cure overnight so that the yeast develops and the flavor develops and you get that nice crust on the outside. Let's get started because it's really simple. I've got 1 tablespoon of coconut sugar in here. I went to 2 stores today to try and find barley malt syrup, which is what you're supposed to use. That's like the ultimate. Nobody had it. If you don't have that, a good substitute would be honey, if you're not vegan, or the brown sugar. So we're using the brown sugar today. It's going to help the yeast develop. It's going to make the crust nice and browned. I'm not taking any chances with the yeast. I went out and bought a fresh packet of yeast. I usually buy my yeast in bulk because I used to do a lot of baking. But the one that I have is a little bit old and I didn't want to take a chance that it wasn't going to work. So we're using some fresh yeast today from the store. Got our yeast in there. We're also going to use some Himalayan pink sea salt. You can use kosher salt if you don't have this. We're using a teaspoon and a half. And we've got our water that is warm. Not hot, not cold. It's just, when you touch it, you would think, oh, I could take a bath in that. It's pretty room temperature, body temperature. Room temperature, no, because you don't want to be in 98 degrees. This is body temperature. Alright, so we're going to pour that in and make sure that our yeast proofs, and we've done this before. You know that when the yeast starts to bubble up, you know that it's a-okay and it's good. So we're going to let that sit for a minute until we see some bubbles, and then we can proceed from there. Alright, you can see there is a yeast cloud in there happening. So there's only one more other ingredient in the basic bagel dough, and that is flour. So today I'm using a bread flour. It works better if you use a bread flour. The protein mixture or whatever is different, and this is going to work much better for bread than if you were just making like cake or brownies or whatnot. So make sure you get a nice bread flour. I'm putting in 3.5 cups. Yeah, I'm not going to measure it exactly.
Why would you do that?
I never do, right? Why start now? I'm just going to guesstimate it because I'm really good at that. And we need just a little half. Hey, you're a half. Alright, I'm going to take it over to the KitchenAid. Today you notice I have a dough hook on here. You don't want to try this with a paddle. It's not going to work that good. The dough hook is what you want. This is the one we want. You can also do this by hand, obviously, because that's how they've made bread for years. So we're just going to mix it until it's starting to come together to see if we need to adjust the liquid. Alright, I'm glad this happened. You could tell that this is going to be a tight dough to begin with, but there's definitely not enough liquid in here. You don't want it so tight that it's going to be in a ball and it's not going to like move at all. This still has a lot of flour that needs to get sucked up by the liquid, and it's not going to happen because we need to add a little bit more liquid to this. So I'm going to start by adding about a tablespoon or so, maybe 2 tablespoons. We'll remix and we'll check back. Alright, you can see I added about 4 tablespoons of liquid. It's perfect consistency. We still have a little bit more that needs to get incorporated though. I might just add another teaspoon or so, but you could see it's tight. It's not flowy like a donut dough. So I'm just going to add a little bit more and let it mix for 3 minutes and then let it rest for 5 minutes. Alright, this is the dough. You could see it's very supple, it's smooth, it's not too loose that it's like spilling out. So this is the perfect consistency that we're going for. The more you knead it, that's what develops the gluten. So you're going to have a nice chewy, stretchy bagel when you eat it, after it's cooked, of course. So 3 minutes kneading, let it rest for 5, then another 3. That's the formula. So now we're going to oil this bowl so that it doesn't stick. Just a little spray in there. This is some coconut oil. We're going to put that in there. Give it a little spray so that it doesn't stick. And we're going to put a towel over it and let this sit for about an hour. Alright, we're back. This is an hour in the future. So we're just going to take it out and punch it down a little bit. We're going to be dividing it up into 8 bagels, or you could do 6 if you want like really big ones, but I think 8 will be good for us. So I like to use my, I don't even know what this is called. I just call it like a dough knife.
Slicer thing.
Yeah. You could also use a scale if you want to, if you want to get it exactly. So we're going to make these into a ball, and by doing that we're just pushing it into the center like this, and then we're making a hole in the middle, and this is going to be the bagel.
Whoa.
Right? So you gently stretch it out so that it doesn't break. You just put it on the parchment paper. You want to oil the parchment paper a little bit. I didn't really oil it too much because this still has oil from the dough on it. So we're just going to shape all of these. Alright, it's a happy bunch. So we're just going to give these a very light spray so that the plastic wrap does not stick to them. We're going to cover these up because they're going to go in the fridge overnight. I mean, it's not totally necessary to do this, but it really does help the flavor to develop and everything, and the yeast to do its job. That's what the real New York City bagel people do, and I do not know where the beginning of this is. Alright, Maddie had to assist me.
We found it!
So we're just going to cover these up and pop them in the fridge overnight, and I will see you guys in the morning when we're ready to bake these. Hey guys, we're back. Alright, so these have been aging in the refrigerator overnight. I took them out about an hour and a half ago and let them come up to room temperature. You should do that at least an hour. Hour and a half would be better. I've got a pot of water over here, rolling boil. You are going to have to slow your roll, sir. And we're going to be adding some baking soda. If you had the malt, now would be a time to add it again. I don't, so I'm putting some sugar in and some sea salt. Whoa! So just going to give that a little mix. We don't want it boiling like crazy. Just a nice simmer is fine. We're going to be taking the bagels one at a time. Or if you got a bigger pot, you can do more than one at a time. I didn't want to dirty a big pot, so I'm just going to do it one at a time. Gently, very gently. You don't want to kill the nice bubbles that you have in there. So we're going to do 30 seconds on each side. After it's 30 seconds, we're going to flip it over. I have a greased parchment paper. Yes, I know it's parchment, but you should probably grease it too because you don't want the bagel to get glued to the parchment. And we're going to be putting on some beautiful everything but the bagel sesame from Trader Joe's just because it's perfect. Alright, so that's been about 30 seconds on that side. You don't want it to go too long. You could go a little bit longer. But we're just going to flip it over like we're frying a donut. And you could see already that that is going to have a nice shiny crust on the outside when we bake it. That's how the bagels get their shiny, crispy crust on the outside, is you put it in the water bath, you take it out and you bake it. Alright, we're going to swap these. We're going to take this one out, put it on our tray. I'm going to put a fresh one in. You got a whole assembly line going here. This should be gluey enough to hold the seasoning on. I like it on both sides.
Fancy.
I want to do this carefully so I don't lose any of my height. And it's as simple as that. I've got my oven preheated to 450. Make sure you use a heavy bottom cookie sheet or pan so that it doesn't burn on the bottom. And I would cook it for 10 minutes, rotate it, maybe flip it if it's getting too brown on one side, and cook it for another 10. 20 minutes should be all you need at 450. Alright, this is the product of bagel love.
Whoa!
Right? I
is
already cut one
incredible.
for you.
Yes, let me just take out a little bit of this
Oh,
first.
the inside is so soft. Were you carried away on a cloud to heaven?
Yes, I need to tell you guys a quick story. That was so good. So my school was really weird. When I was in middle school and high school, the big like lunchtime trend was to get a bagel and ranch dressing and dip it in that. And it was so freaking good. And whenever I tell people that who did not go to my school, they're just like,
That was such a
"What's
huge
wrong with
trend.
you?" But like everybody
did it.
And like, yeah, it's like, oh, you did what everybody else did, but like, it was so good. You had to. It was so good. So like every day for years, I would have a bagel and ranch dressing for lunch, and these bagels, just like the inside squishiness of these reminds me of those, and I'm just like, oh my god. I'm gonna have mine with some roasted garlic hummus.
Yes.
And then we'll get the real
I'm just gonna
test.
talk about these when you put your hummus on there. These were the first 3 that came out. They flew a little close to the sun. They were in 2 minutes longer than the other grouping was, but I think it's just my toaster. So you do you, depending on your oven, because you could see the bottom is it's not as dark as the top. But that's the nature of the toaster oven. If you do those in the regular oven, you won't have a problem.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Let's hear the crunch.
Really don't feel comfortable with close-up eating, but okay.
That looks amazing.
Wow.
I cannot wait to eat, because I'm having one of these bad boys for lunch.
We're gonna save so much money. It's just like a bakery.
I know. Guys, the price of bagels has gone through the roof at our store, which has okay bagels. I mean, as far as New York City bagels are concerned, pretty good, pretty convincing, but they are 89 cents a bagel. Right?
Yeah.
Or is it 79? I don't know. It's $4 for 6. So I don't know what that works out to. Is that 80 cents each?
I can't think right now. I'm in the throes of bagel eating. I have to go.
All right. It's expensive in any case, so it's much cheaper to make your own. Guys, give it a try. Even if you don't have the barley malt like we didn't have, it's still gonna come out amazing. So thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe for more like this, and until next time, much love.